Every day, usually in the morning between 5 and 11, we release our Central Indiana Scoreboard show where we talk about what Central Indiana sports fans care about: the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IndyCar, IU, Purdue, the major national sports news of the day, and the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana. It's your daily audio sports section. What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 296.2. John Robertson and Michelle Garmon's reaction to the Fever's 102-88 win over the New York Liberty, handing the Liberty their first loss of the season. We also talked a lot of other WNBA storylines, did some power rankings in the WNBA. We planned on doing this from the start of the season, but with the Pacers continuing to win and win, we've pushed it back a little. Today, we had to do a reaction, and we will have Fever coverage following every game going forward as soon as the Pacers season ends.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Fever fan, to our reaction of the Fever's 102-88 win over the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty's first loss of the season. Today is June 14, 2025. It's a Saturday. I am joined by John Robertson, our Fever and NBA guy, and Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon to react to the Fever's big win. That is a big win. And all I'm going to say to start the conversation is, what rust?
Yeah,
she said she was going to have some rust, and I didn't see any at all.
I was afraid to take any Caitlin Clark props today because I didn't know how many minutes she was going to get. Like, they didn't say they were going to have minutes restrictions, but I was worried about minutes restrictions, so I didn't want to take too much of Caitlin's
She went
stats.
over on all of it.
She absolutely did. Like, I mean, I should have put it all. I should have bet 7 threes and whatever. But, like, yeah, she had a great day.
Including Michelle. She went over on turnovers and really ill-advised shots that went in.
You know, I will tell you, she shot well today, but she was also
She did.
in the zone because 2 of those logo threes, they were flung. I mean, if you look at her legs, the splits she did, they weren't legs under her, but she was in the zone. And when she gets in the zone, she's dead.
That was beautiful to watch.
That 3 logo threes in like 40 seconds, that whole thing that happened.
Unreal.
That was, first of all, unbelievable, and like the atmosphere in the arena was just insane. But I think that's why she did it. I think she knew that the crowd was kind of out of the game, and she needed to do something to get it. Like, I mean, it just felt like that's what she was doing. If you know, when you're there, crowd was kind of dead. She made the first 3, and like everybody was excited. So then she makes the second one, and like the crowd goes bonkers. And then the third one, like it was almost as loud as the Pacers playoff game the other night. Like,
wow.
it was crazy when she made the throw. So I really do think she uses that as a tool, like not just for the points, but to get the crowd back into the game.
I don't want to be critical of her. I'm just saying that those shots, some of those shots, man, and we see them on the highlights that she makes them. She also misses a lot of those, and sometimes she's got to. If she wants to be a champion, she's got to have better shot selection. That's all the negative I'm going to say, because she was unbelievable. Best game of her career?
I don't know about that, but it was good. Like, she didn't have a triple-double.
I haven't seen a better one.
I mean,
she was
I feel like when her triple-doubles were better.
Really?
Yeah. Like, she was close. I mean, she was close.
She had 9 assists, and some of those passes were just incredible.
Well, she should have had about 14 assists. I'm not going to rip on the players for missing them, because honestly, I think part of that too is they're just not in the rhythm of being back with playing Caitlin ball again. Like, I think when she's on the court, it's so much different than what they're playing when she's not on the court. So, like, she's been gone for 2 weeks. And like all the players have to get back into the pace of be ready at any moment to catch that and like not overshoot the layup. because that's what happened. I would say at least 5 or 6 of those. There
At
was
least a few of them for sure.
and I don't want to put that on like like Aaliyah had one for sure and Lexi had one for sure, but I don't want to put that on them because that's going to happen some. But yeah, like Caitlin definitely should have had at least 4 or 5 more assists.
Kelsey Mitchell was really good tonight, 22 points, but I thought Lexi Hull was fantastic. I thought Aaliyah Boston was. I love that when she catches the ball, the first thing she does is look to pass unless she's under the basket. Love that she has that to her game, that she's always willing to move the ball as well. Big game for Sydney Colson. Loved what she brought to the game as well. And Sophie Cunningham was plus 31, Michelle.
Pretty good. I will say I'm going to go back to Kelsey Mitchell because I thought that Caitlin's 3 logo threes got the crowd into it were great, but I thought Mitchell's 3 when Caitlin was on the bench in the fourth when the Liberty were threatening, they had it down around 6 or 8 points, and she just rose up and hit that 3 over Cloud, who's a great defender. I thought that was just a huge shot for the Fever, and from there, New York was never close again.
Cloud got in foul trouble. I think she had 4 going into the fourth, so she is a great defender, but I do think she was a little bit handicapped on not being able to play quite as tight as she would have liked in the fourth. But yeah, I agree with you on Kelsey's threes were great. Kelsey's speed is always just unbelievable. She is so fast, and I didn't really see her have any like over dribbling or give up the ball because she was dribbling in traffic too much today.
I just think Kelsey's game. I've always thought she was good, but I think Stephanie and this staff are taking her to another level. She's always been a great scorer, but she's actually grinding down and playing defense, and she is very quick. I think Kelsey Mitchell is becoming a complete basketball player.
I think Kelsey's realizing that she doesn't have to do it all now that she has a squad around her. I think before she, like last year, one of the complaints around Kelsey Mitchell was that like once the ball got to her, it was going up. It wasn't going to anyone else. And I think this year she realizes she's got so many weapons around her. She does not have to be that person, and she's settling into that role, and she's doing what she does well. And then when she doesn't have it, she's able to pass out to somebody. So that's developing her game a lot.
And I will say, Greg is right. Lexi Hall, another huge game. I'm somebody who doesn't always look at, points and points don't really always tell the story. I like to look at other things in hustle categories, and Lexi Hall is always among the best in hustle categories. But I thought the job she did guarding Breanna Stewart when I followed the game on the app a little bit because I was going back and forth between watching it and the U.S. Open golf. I like the majors, but I thought Lexi did a great job of really contesting and bothering Breanna Stewart today.
Oh, she absolutely did. Like Lexi, you know me, I'm probably the biggest Lexi fan that we know. I will even say that I if I had to pick a favorite player, I might take Lexi over Caitlin Clark. She does. She hustles absolutely. She's all over the place. She's always trying to get a hand on a deflection or a rebound. She's always got a hand in somebody's face. She'll run across the court and do what she needs to do. And that's what she was doing for sure. I don't remember how many steals she had. She had a couple, just one, I guess. But like 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 14 points. She's and let's be real, Breanna Stewart's a hard cover. Right, like Breanna Stewart's one of the best players in the league.
Oh yeah, because she's one who can go inside, outside, has a step back. I mean, she's got good range. She's effective in those post moves. So and can put the ball on the floor and drive to the hole and finish. So she is a very tough guard. She's really, she's a hard matchup, and I think that is what makes her so good. In that regard, I think she's a lot like Candace Parker was. Well, Candace Parker was a hard matchup because those Breanna Stewart, like Candace, they had no problem passing off at times either. But they just were hard matchups because they could play inside and outside.
And you could see that Brianna Stewart was frustrated with Lexi today too. Like, I mean, not like mad at her or anything, but she was frustrated by her and frustrated with like how well she was guarding her. There was a couple times where I think that Stewart got, and again, like I don't want to say like the refs were bad, but there was a couple calls that I thought were questionable, and Stewart took advantage of those. But like there was once where Stewart fell on top of Lexi, and I was like, get off her, because it looks like she was going to hurt her. Like I literally fell on her.
You were ready to go out and fight, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, I thought so.
Everybody in our section laughed because I was like, I screamed to get off her and get off Lexi.
So what did you wear a jersey today, John? Or
I did. No, I wore
Lexi's or Caitlin's since she's back.
I wore my blue Lexi jersey, and Kyrie wore her blue Caitlin jersey. So we looked like we were on the same team. And,
all right.
And Kyrie wore the Welcome Back Caitlin jersey.
Aw. Okay.
I like to support Lexi when I'm there. There needs to be some Lexi jerseys in the crowd.
Yes, there does.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. Actually, the thing is, I don't really think you can go wrong. I mean, if you want to bring on Lexi jerseys, of course, Caitlin jerseys, Kelsey Mitchell jerseys, Aaliyah Boston jerseys.
I said the next one I'm by myself is probably be a Boston jersey. I'm going to end up having the whole team because I love the team so much.
Boston's my favorite player. I'll say that.
My wife.
I love Aaliyah Boston. I've loved
Me too.
College because
I love that smile.
I do see one that she enjoys the game. She is highly competitive, but she's what I always used to tell when I coached my kids that were super nice and didn't want to. I said, you are great young ladies, nice, polite. I love it off the court, but on the court, you need to be feisty and in beast mode. And I think that is Boston to a T. I think she is a tremendous, soft-spoken young lady off the court, but she knows how she can get into beast mode and be competitive on the court. And for a post player, and she's a little bit undersized with some of them. I mean, but that's what you have to do.
Well, she had a double-double today. I needed her to get 10 points, and it took her until the very end to get the 10th point, but she got it. But then she had 11 rebounds, which was good too. If we're talking stats, there's only like every player that played today is positive except for one. Every single player was in the positive plus minus. Yeah.
Are we going to name names or what?
I'm not going to name names.
Because it doesn't matter that much, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't.
I will say this too. This is probably Dolson's best game as a member of the Fever. Am I correct?
Sydney, yeah, it was probably her best game I've seen.
Yeah, without question, it was.
And they're going to need that. They're going to need that kind of production from her going forward. Hopefully it comes together and it does that, or she's able to do that on a more consistent basis. But yeah, this is a huge win for the Fever, and the Liberty they're a really good team. I mean,
they're undefeated until today.
Yeah,
that's right.
And INSU, I mean, heck, she's helped keep them in the game. She's had over 30 points herself. They're a talented team, just like the Fever are. Now the Liberty and the Minx are both 9-1,
Yep.
And so
Fever are tied for first place on the East of the Commissioner's Cup.
That's right. But their plus minus point differential is probably not going to be enough to overcome unless the Liberty lose again. Here's what I want to say about it is, first of all, it seems like a fun rivalry brewing. I know New York's a little older, but it seems like a fun rivalry brewing. Not a vicious one. Seems like those players enjoy playing against each other. Also, it seems like a good matchup for the Fever, especially underneath with Boston. As good as Stewart is, she had a really tough time with her.
Yeah. I will say this too. I want to go back. I thought it was great, the interaction after Caitlin hit that one big three over Brianna Stewart. And Stewart's just smiling, like laughing. And it was great to see that kind of fun exchange that they had as they went back down the court.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that like the smart players realize that Caitlin's good for the league and want her to have success and make it exciting. So like, yeah, they don't want to lose. and they don't like that she scored on them, but like they understand that that's good for the game overall, so they're just laughing. I mean, if you think back to the Larry Bird game where he was scoring a bunch, and like the Atlanta, I think it was Atlanta's bench was laughing and falling off the bench. Same type of situation.
Because it was ridiculous. I would have been too.
Yeah, what are you gonna do when somebody does that?
It was insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it is.
And this was insane tonight. Well, that sequence for her was one of the most thrilling moments I've seen with the most thrilling. Maybe the championship, but just one after the other was just so cool to watch.
Yeah, it was. It's got to be a top 10 like just sports moment I've ever witnessed with my own eyes. Because it was just electric,
insane.
When you could see that she was just like, yeah, I'm on a heat check. Let's just see what happens, and they just kept falling, and it was like, what is going on? And it was
none
nuts.
of them hit the rim. It was just, and they were like Michelle said, they were just kind of flinging them. She was just kind of flinging them from out there, and they were going in. Ooh, when she gets like that.
Well. And let's really put it into perspective. Caitlin finished with 32 points total, right? But she had 25 in the first half. Like, I forget what the exact first half, like I remember her points were 25, but her first half stat line was like 25, 5, and 5 maybe. In the half.
She was like really, she started off 7 of 10 from the field, and I think at halftime she was 9 of like 14 or something. But yeah, she shot phenomenally well today, especially early. I mean, like I said, when Caitlin gets in a zone, she's just one of those. She's a player that, she gets in a zone, you got to watch out, and you just hope that halftime can cool her down some.
Well, if if they continue to play like that, and obviously that not every game's going to go the way today went. There's just no way that they can keep that consistently. But like if they're playing like that, is anybody going to stop them? Like it's
possible, but it's possible another team could play like that at the same time. But there aren't very many of those. The Liberty were right there this whole game.
Well, right.
Beating the Liberty is not going to be
New York's
that's going to be easy.
Kyrie and I were both a little stressed out. Not stressed, but we were like, this game could go either way with like 5 minutes to go. I think they had the lead down to 4, maybe 6. I don't remember exactly. Wasn't taking notes. And I was like, oh, this could go either way. And then that's when the Fever just shut the door and said, we're going to win this. And so the score looks pretty lopsided, but during the game, it was a little closer the whole time. But yeah, like if they play like that in the playoffs, if they can put a string of games together like that in the playoffs, I don't see any team stopping them.
I'd put them as the 1B favorite, probably with New York, and you probably, like Michelle mentioned, you probably have to put Minnesota there too.
You do have to put Minnesota.
Vegas is dangerous, of course.
No, Vegas.
They're dangerous. They got the best player in the world. They're dangerous.
I'm just gonna say it. I think Vegas is depending who they get, could be a first round exit for the playoffs.
Well, here's the problem with Vegas. They do have the best player in the world in A'ja Wilson, by far. She's a beast. They have one of the best defensive guards in the league, and Jackie Young, who can also score. But the problem with Vegas is they've lost all their depth. I mean, you get past those two, and they don't have any, what I would say, consistent performers.
You guys realize they lost? You realize they lost to the expansion team, right?
Yes, but you
guys realize they lost.
Have you looked at the Valkyries? And be careful, because that's where the Fever go next. I mean, the Valkyries, I think they're a team that they have a lot of European type players. And
I like the Valkyrie. I do. I'm not going to rip on the Valkyrie, but like if you're supposedly like a top tier team like Vegas, you shouldn't be losing to the expansion team.
But did they lose them on the road? If they lost them at home, that's absolutely terrible. But on the road,
I'm trying to think of the Vegas. I don't think Vegas is nearly as good this year. I really don't think. I don't think they're dangerous. I think they are a first round exit possibly. I don't think they're a threat at all.
But they are a team that we don't know. I mean, if their chemistry comes together in another 4 or 5 games, because they do have Wilson and they do have Young on their team.
Exactly.
They do have Chelsea Gray. They can give people problems.
I think John's probably right. Chances are they're done and moving, and this thing is done, and they got to redo it. But they've got those two players who are so dangerous that I would not count them out.
All right, hold on. They lost by 20 to Seattle. They lost by let's see, they
I
lost
get
a
it,
lot.
John.
I don't
They still
think
have those.
I would take Atlanta over Las Vegas at this point. I would take Seattle over Las Vegas at this point.
You think Atlanta's legit?
I think Atlanta's like B tier. I wouldn't put them in like top tier, but I think they're B tier.
And what about Phoenix?
They're below Atlanta as far as I'm concerned.
And Seattle's still dangerous too, right?
Seattle is dangerous. Erica Wheeler's having like a crazy year out there. Like she just had a ridiculous game, and they picked off the Lynx for their first loss. But like I liked Erica Wheeler when she was on the Fever. She was awesome.
Good guard.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
she had other attributes that made her a net positive. And so I liked Erica Wheeler, and like I'm happy to see her having success in Seattle. I think Seattle's doing okay. Like I don't know, like there's a lot going on.
I think the Aces, and I know Homer, but I think they should have, after Seattle cut Mackenzie Holmes to go too big, they should have picked her up.
They'll make some ads.
Play that high-low with Asia Wilson, because there is no one. Mackenzie Holmes has the best footwork of any post player I've ever watched, and I've said that from her sophomore year on at IU. If you watch it, and she shoots it during Seattle. I mean, they played that one game, and she was shot almost 68% from the field, and she's got incredible. She blocks shots. She's not super tall, but she is super smart and knows how to, and I just think that would help them with the Wilson, and because I don't think their other post players do anything but kind of get in Asia's way.
So I'm looking at the standings, right? And obviously I think Lynx and Liberty are right where they should be. They're both one loss, top of the standings. Atlanta's in 3. I don't think they're quite the number 3 team, but that's where they are at the moment. Phoenix is in 4. I think they're overplaying where I think they've outperformed their talent. And then
a
Fever's
little bit easier schedule.
Sure, and then Fever's 5-5, and I think they're better than the number 7 team, right? Like
Oh yeah, they're top 4 for sure.
Valkyries are sitting right there at 8. I think Mystics are going to end up doing okay. I think they've got a lot of young talent. But let's talk about the basement dwellers. We got Dallas Wings and Chicago Sky. Who's going to be getting the number 1 pick?
Dallas.
You think?
It's a nice future for that franchise if they can get the number 1 pick. Yeah.
Hey, I think they might get the same benefit that the Fever got.
That's right.
Number 1 pick.
Well, there's a lot of locker room struggles with Dallas too. Like, I mean, not to rip on. Well, screw it. Let's just call them out. When you have Dejanay and Melissa Smith on the same team, it's either going to be boom or bust. And right now, it's bust.
Yeah.
And
but they got a good one. They got a good one in the draft. I'll say that
they do. They've got Paige, and Paige is doing what she can. But it's kind of the same thing Caitlin went through when you've got all the drama to deal with. Also, you can only outperform it or outplay Hart so much. But then they collapsed against Las Vegas. They had like a 12 or 13 point lead against Las Vegas, and they ended up losing the game by 4. Last night. I think it was same night as the Pacer game. So I don't know. But Chicago is just terrible too. Like they're in the same situation. They're terrible.
Terrible.
So
they've got no one who can put the ball in the basket.
No.
Last thing that I have to say is I love Natasha Cloud's game. I love what she brings, but it was a really tough night to be a player in that game named Natasha.
Yeah, she had a couple of fouls that got her in foul trouble, and then I'm trying to remember what else notable happened to her. She just
couldn't make a shot. I think she looked like she was going a little too fast at times, but love her game.
Well, she did play some really strong defense. Like she was definitely.
She always does.
Yeah, her defense was really good, and she always knew where Caitlin was, and she was always making sure that she could try to. What I liked about Cloud's game, even though she's against the Fever, but she was trying to find the passing lanes, thinking where's Caitlin going to go so she could get the steal. Like that, she was always right there for that. But yeah, I do think getting in the foul trouble early hurt her.
Yeah. She's one of the most fun players to watch in the WNBA for sure.
I really
especially
don't
defensively, and what she does in passing lanes and turning defense into offense. Love that. But we hate the Liberty, of course.
See, I was gonna say there's nobody particularly on the Liberty that I dislike.
Exactly.
Which is
they're hard to dislike.
Kyrie and I we were discussing we hate the Knicks. I hate everything about New York, but for some reason I kind of like the Liberty.
By the way, they're associated with the Nets, not the Knicks. I don't know if people know that.
Well, I didn't know that, but I just knew
they play at the Barclays Center. They're owned by the Nets.
They're from New York, though. Their team name is New York, and I don't like anything from New York. But
they are not associated with the Knicks, at least.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Hey, John, you were talking about Phoenix, but is Copper done for the year? Because if he's coming back, they can become dangerous because he's an outstanding defender.
Yeah, I do like Copper.
And he can make clutch baskets. I mean, he's a really good player. And I think what the Mercury are doing right now with not having her available is pretty admirable.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I hadn't followed them super closely. I knew they lost a lot of their talent, but then they might be all right. We'll just have to. It's still pretty early in the season. I mean, what is it? Well, I guess we're about a quarter of the way through the season. Mm-hmm. But I think I like back to what you were saying. I do think that Minnesota and New York are the top two, and then I think you slot Fever right under the 3 spot. If they keep playing, and if they're playing the way they're playing, they could easily dethrone either of the top two.
Absolutely. Last thing I want to say. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I like.
Hold on. 10 seconds, real fast.
My only real point is that the WNBA is kind of exciting once you get to following storylines, and I think there's a lot of basketball fans that if they would just, I know there's some bad basketball sometimes, and if you just pull the clips of people missing layups, it looks really bad. But once you really start following teams and learning more than just Caitlin Clark, it's kind of exciting and fun, and that's where I found myself in the last 2 years.
They need better national television announcers. I'll say that.
Well, fair enough. They absolutely do, but so does the NBA at this point. But the NBA already has a following.
Yeah, Mike Breen and those guys are pretty good.
I didn't like Jefferson.
The color people are pretty bad. The color people have been bad, but the play-by-play people have been fantastic. Every step of the way. The NBA's done well with the play-by-play guys. They need better color is what they need. They need better play-by-play people in the WNBA. It just the sound sounds like it's B League.
That's fair.
They need real professional announcers these people do not sound like they belong there.
Well, they're not used to the eyes.
Great might get on great on some people, but one of the best really play-by-play persons for women's sports, and it's probably, and I'm not a big ESPN fan, but I think it's Beth Mullins. Her voice gets me a little bit, but she's great.
She's great. They need her on these national television games, not on ESPN.
Well, they need to just work on their marketing and their production value and stop worrying about the politics as much. That's the one thing. If they could just get out of their own way on some of this stuff, they'd be better off. Which brings up another point that I want to make at the game that I noticed today, and I don't know if this might ruffle some feathers or whatever, but I'm just going to go with it. I am tired of the opposing teams when they're here not coming out for the national anthem. It's like the Liberty are always out there for the national anthem, but I think every other game I've been to, today they weren't there. I know Atlanta they weren't there. They go back in the locker, and I don't like it. And people can argue with me if they want to, and that's fine. But I think that if it's going to be part of the event, you need to be out there.
I think John, we don't, John, and that bothers me. It's one of my pet peeves with the Ohio State women's basketball team is they all run back, or sometimes half their team is back there. And I'm going to give credit to Terry Morin. All of her players are out there, and she has some international players. But now, do they put their hands over their hearts and do they sing? No, but I don't think you have to. But they're all there. They
you have to be respectful
and they're respectful. And
it's all right. Huh? We don't do politics on this podcast, but the one thing political that we do believe on this podcast is that flag means America as a whole. and we respect the country through that flag.
Yeah.
And that's as political as we're ever going to go. And you need to be out there for that national anthem. I don't care if you have international players and you have players who don't feel. Look, is the country perfect? No, but that flag represents something that represents all of us as a whole, and that's important. And you're right.
I didn't mean to stir that up. It was something I noticed today.
Well, yeah, no, sure. It's one of the reasons some of these people have lost viewership, and
yes,
the WNBA really needs to thank Caitlin Clark to bringing that back, because they had some interest, but when they all did things with the flag, I'm from I have a lot of military in my family, and that's the one thing that always that bothers them. And I have people in my family that don't watch some football anymore, NFL, or they got away from sports because that bothered them, that people couldn't stand there and be respectful for as long as the anthem was playing. They're not telling you to sing or whatever, but just be respectful.
That's right. All right. One thing I want to say before we go is that we didn't plan on doing Fever reaction today. We were going to start doing more Fever coverage as soon as the Pacers end, which I expected to be 2 or 3 weeks ago. But going forward, we are going to have Fever content following every game. Sometimes John will be with us. Sometimes it'll be John and Michelle. Sometimes it'll just be me with a game story. But we will have Fever reaction after every game as soon as the Pacers season ends.
And welcome back, Caitlin Clark.
Thanks to John and Michelle for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. That was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, our Fever coverage is going to ramp up once the Pacers season is over. And what we got coming for you, I think you're really going to like. Go subscribe to our YouTube page. If you're a fan of the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IndyCar, IU, or Purdue, we think you're really, really going to like it. Go subscribe. Thanks. Oh, I forgot to say go Pacers. Go Pacers. Love them Pacers. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.